Good afternoon, everybody. It is 12 o'clock, and we'll wait just another minute or two, give a few more folks time to log on. Thank you for being here with us today. This is a really hot topic, and it's one that we've received lots of requests for. So I'm thrilled that we're able to share this information with you today. You may have noticed while you've been watching the slides that we have a couple of really great opportunities coming up for you. One is on April 1st. It's National Walking Day. You can walk with wellness champions that day and earn 100 Personify Health points. All the walks are listed on the Wellness Hub under the announcement section. Hopefully you could scan the QR code also and see them as well. And you can also learn more on Personify Health about all the wellness walks that are happening on April the 1st. And then our next Wellness at Work webinar will be held on April the 28th at noon. It is all about stroke awareness. So looking forward to sharing that information with you as well. And once I send your Personify Health voucher code, I'll share more information about how to register for that event. Okay, it is 12:01, so I am going to go ahead and get started. Again, just a few quick announcements there about what's coming up. And I also want to share with you that if you're looking for more support in Personify Health around nutrition, because this is, after all, National Nutrition Month in March, we're about to wrap it up. There are seven different journeys that you can participate in. And I've listed them here for you, but again, you can earn up to 450 points quarterly by completing 3 journeys. So I want to remind you that there's lots of support in your Personify Health app around nutrition. So I am happy again to be able to share this information with you, and I'm happy to introduce Troy Mueller to you. Troy is a outpatient clinical dietitian here at Carilion. And I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and I will invite Troy to share his screen so he can tell us all about how we can reduce that inflammation in our bodies with good nutrition habits. Thanks for being here, Troy.
All right. Thanks, Julie. Appreciate that. Good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you guys. So my talk today is going to be on the nutrition prescription, natural ways to reduce inflammation. And as most of you know, inflammation is a natural response in the human body to 3 things: injury, illness, and disease. Basically, what happens is the body releases chemicals when any of these 3 things happen. And these chemicals, some of them are immune things like cytokines that help begin to attack invaders. Blood flow is increased, redness, heat, and swelling occurs. And all of that is designed to destroy invaders, to contain invaders, and to limit the impact of the injury or whatever's going on. The problem occurs, of course, when inflammation becomes chronic. Those very chemicals that are designed to be helpful in the short term actually, in the long term, disrupt normal cell function. They can begin to damage the lining of the blood vessels and even interfere with how organs work in the body. And of course, if inflammation is chronic over time, it increases the risk of some very detrimental things: heart disease, type 2 diabetes, autoimmune diseases, neuromuscular conditions, digestive disorders, and can cause joint and muscle damage. And chronic inflammation has been dubbed kind of a silent killer because for a long time there's no obvious symptoms until the damage is already done. So chronic inflammation can become a huge problem over time. Now there's 4 lifestyle interventions that can actually help reduce chronic inflammation, and I want to briefly touch on the first 2 and then maybe spend a little more time on numbers 3 and 4. So what people don't realize is that weight actually plays a role in chronic inflammation in the body. We used to think that weight was just kind of luggage along for the ride through life. But it turns out that weight and body fat actually acts like an exocrine organ, and it secretes chemicals into the bloodstream that create low-grade systemic inflammation throughout the body. So you can put your body in a state of low-grade systemic inflammation just by being significantly overweight. And what's interesting is 75% of adult Americans are considered clinically overweight, and about 40% of those are considered obese. And if your BMI falls in any of the obesity categories, that's where you can be sure that you probably have some low-grade systemic inflammation going on throughout the body. Now, studies show that a 10% weight loss, which is usually achievable by most people with just modest changes to physical activity and dietary intake, that can have a significant positive impact on blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, and it can significantly reduce chronic inflammation in the body. So let me, I guess, just say it this way. The single most important thing most Americans can do for themselves is to try to take off about 10% of their current weight. Another factor would be exercise. There's all kinds of benefits connected to exercise, one of which is it reduces stress, and stress causes the release of hormones like the three listed there that actually can cause inflammation in the body. So, most people are very sedentary. They don't get a lot of physical movement, and they're missing out on the stress-reducing impact of exercise. And usually the recommendation is about 120 to 150 minutes a week of some true cardiovascular exercise. Now, there are some pro-inflammatory foods and beverages. So you see wheat, corn, and soy listed there. The reason those things have become inflammatory is at least in part because all of them are currently genetically modified in the United States. I'm sure many of you have tried to go gluten-free. Gluten is a protein component in wheat that actually can cause some inflammation, not only in the digestive system, but it can cause inflammation even in the joints. So a lot of people are going gluten-free to try to decrease systemic inflammation in the body. Similar things are connected to corn and soy, and derivatives of those three things are found in almost every processed food item that we eat. So almost everything has some form of wheat or wheat byproduct in it. And if it doesn't have that, it probably has corn or soy. And these genetically modified products are causing a problem. Sometimes I get patients that say, I went to Italy or Portugal and I was there and I was eating pasta and bread and my gut felt fine. And when I came home and started eating pasta and bread and stuff here, I started having GI problems and my joints started hurting again. My wife actually just got back recently from Mexico and experienced something similar there, just eating very whole, ungenetically modified foods. And she felt better gut-wise and joint-wise. Now that she's back, she's having the same problems as before she left. Then another thing is refined sugar in corn syrup. Corn syrup is another thing that's found in a lot of our processed food items, as well as refined sugar. Both of these things are pro-inflammatory. So the more sugar and corn syrup you take in, the more likely there's going to be a low-grade systemic response, an inflammatory response to that kind of intake. And many people don't know that even dairy can have some inflammatory impact. Dairy has a carbohydrate in it called lactose. Many of you have probably heard about the idea of being lactose intolerant. When we're young, we make an enzyme called lactase that helps us break down and digest the lactose that's found in milk. But as we age, our body's ability to produce the lactase enzyme diminishes over time. So most people slowly develop lactose intolerance as they age. And so that can become at least a GI irritant and can cause some inflammation in the gut. And then the protein found in dairy can be an irritant to some folks as well and be an inflammatory item as well. MSG and other food additives. Our foods are filled with all kinds of man-made chemicals and additives, and many of those things are also pro-inflammatory. So the more processed food items you're taking in, the more food additives and chemicals that you're taking in the body, and that's contributing to the overall low-grade systemic inflammatory process going on in the body. Artificial sweeteners are also very pro-inflammatory. Things like Sweet and Low, Splenda, and Equal. People drink Diet Coke all day long, and they're getting a lot of artificial sweetener that way, and that can contribute to inflammation in the body as well. Alcohol can have some inflammatory impact. The current clinical recommendation for men is no more than 2 alcoholic beverages a day, and women 1. And the safest and best is dry red wine. Alcoholic beverages above and beyond that, especially taken in excess, can enhance chronic inflammation in the body as well. Another one that many people are not aware of is vegetable oils. Most companies, when they extract the oil from the plant material, use a chemical called hexane and high heat to extract all of the oil from the plant material. It's very cost effective for the company to extract oil in that way, but it damages the oil and turns it into a pro-inflammatory item. And so if you're going to do oils, you want extra virgin oils. These oils are just pressed in a normal room temperature environment, and then they're centrifuged to draw the oil out of the plant material. So there's no damaging chemicals that are used in the extraction process, nor is high heat used to damage the oil. And then there's trans fats. This is a man-made saturated fat. Basically, what they do is they take vegetable oil and they add hydrogen to it. And another way to say trans fat is hydrogenated oil. And the reason they add hydrogen to it is oil is a carbon chain with open bonds. And if you leave those bonds open, oxygen binds and the oil becomes rancid. So companies lose their shelf life if they don't add hydrogen to those bonds. But it turns it into a man-made saturated fat that's worse for your lipid profile and for inflammation in the body than many other things. And these hydrogenated oils are found in things that people eat very frequently, like most commercially prepared peanut butter has it, most commercially prepared baked goods like Little Debbie cakes. It's also found in a lot of coffee creamers. It's found in Oreo cookies, which many people love. It's found in a lot of microwave popcorn and many crackers, like Ritz crackers, saltine crackers, even a lot of graham crackers have it as well. So trans fat is a huge inflammatory item that people are taking in on a regular basis. It's also the primary oil that's used in most fast food restaurants. And the reason they use it is they can use it over and over and over again. It's because it's very stable and it's very cost effective to use an oil like that. And that's why fast foods are one of many reasons why they're so bad, because most of that stuff is fried in a trans fat or hydrogenated oil. And then there's processed meats like bacon, sausage, bologna, salami, pepperoni, a lot of times jerky as well. These meats are processed in a way where they have nitrates and nitrites, as well as sugar is often added. Sometimes there's binders and fillers that are wheat or soy-based, and these things are all making this meat into a very inflammatory item. So those are some of the main things that people end up eating that can cause inflammation along the way. All right, now what about anti-inflammatory foods? Well, it's really not rocket science. Fresh fruits and vegetables are one of the key things. What most people don't realize is a lot of our fruits have been genetically modified to be bigger and sweeter, In the old days, apples were about the size of a tennis ball and they were kind of tart. Now apples are genetically modified to be probably twice as big or more as a tennis ball, and they're very, very sweet. And that's genetic modification. And because of that, you're going to get some potential inflammatory effect from the sugar content. A lot of our fruits and vegetables also have pesticides, which can cause all kinds of other issues as well. But generally, fruits and vegetables, especially if you can afford to get and you can find organic options, that's the way to go. Fruits and vegetables have vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals, antioxidants, very anti-inflammatory. Whole grains are another great anti-inflammatory food. Whole wheat, whole grain, multi-grain. A lot of people eat very refined grains, and they're usually genetically modified grains. So we want to move away from that to a more whole grain diet. Beans and legumes are very high in fiber and anti-inflammatory nutrients as well. Great source of protein, so that's a good way to go. Nuts and seeds are excellent. You just got to be careful with nuts and seeds. You want dry roasted, unsalted nuts and seeds, ideally. A lot of times, if they're oil roasted, they're often roasted in soybean oil, and it's usually extracted with that heat and the solvent like hexane. So that can make the nuts not nearly as good and potentially pro-inflammatory. So you want dry roasted, unsalted, or raw nuts and seeds. Fresh caught seafood is very anti-inflammatory, often high in omega-3 fatty acids. A lot of our seafood is currently ocean raised or farm raised. And the problem with that is these fish and the seafood is fed a man-made corn or soy-based chow of some kind. And that's going to alter the body composition of the fish and make it not nearly as healthy or good for you. And if it's farm raised, usually the fish are in a kind of an unclean environment, which really doesn't enhance how good they would be for you. So you want wild caught, fresh caught, wild caught seafood. Herbs and spices, many of them have anti-inflammatory impact. We're going to look at some of them when we look at the supplements. But cooking with herbs and spices can be a great way to add an anti-inflammatory component to your overall intake. People get stuck on salt and pepper. There's a whole world of herbs and spices out there, and the key is doing a little internet research to find out, if I'm eating salmon, what kind of herbs and spices would be good on a dish like that. And there's all kinds of great recommendations out there as to how to incorporate these herbs and spices. Healthy fats are anti-inflammatory, and seafood is a source of some of that anti-inflammatory healthy fat. Avocados would be another great way to go. Nuts and seeds as well. Olive oil, avocado oil, if it's extra virgin, oils that are extracted in an appropriate way. A lot of people don't realize cooked Asian mushrooms are super anti-inflammatory. The shiitake and the maitake mushrooms, great way to incorporate some anti-inflammatory benefit into your diet. And also non-GMO whole soy foods like tofu, tempeh, and miso, if incorporated, can also have some anti-inflammatory benefit as well. Now, these are the supplements that you can take, and there's a therapeutic dose of these things. Now, the turmeric at 400 to 600 milligrams 3 times a day, that can have as much anti-inflammatory benefit as some of the over-the-counter anti-inflammatory medications. So if you're suffering from chronic inflammation in your body, either in your gut and or in your joints, just making the one change of incorporating this turmeric can make a significant and noticeable difference in and the inflammatory symptoms that you're currently experiencing. A lot of these other things would be more things you would want to add that would help with a cumulative benefit. The ginger, the cinnamon, the rosemary. Flaxseed is high in omega-3 fatty acids, CoQ10, and there's the omega-3 fatty acid recommendation in milligrams per day for males and females. Green tea is very anti-inflammatory, so that's something that can be incorporated on a regular basis. You know, many people don't get the recommended daily servings of all of the main food groups, meaning that they're basically malnourished. And that kind of contributes to the pro-inflammatory environment in the body. You're supposed to have 2 servings of fruit a day minimum. And the more color and variety, the better. You're supposed to have 3 servings a day of vegetables. Half cup cooked, 1 cup raw is a serving. And that's the minimum, 2 fruits, 3 vegetables. Most of my patients aren't getting that. And so what happens with that is you end up with malnourishment over time. So taking a naturally sourced multivitamin and mineral supplement on a daily basis can help make sure that your body has all of the necessary micronutrients so that you can be in a healthy state and not be in that pro-inflammatory state. Many folks are low in vitamin D, and low vitamin D in and of itself can contribute to low-grade systemic inflammation in the body. So if you have lab work done, make sure you get your vitamin D levels checked. And that 1,000 units a day is minimum for most people to stay where they need to be because we don't get very much sun exposure anymore. During the winter months, you may want to double that to keep your D where it needs to be. Also, the magnesium piece, many people are magnesium deficient, and the reason for that is our soil is magnesium deficient, so our fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds don't have as much magnesium anymore. And so getting that checked can be helpful as well. Then do know that magnesium can be a little tough on the gut. So there's a chelated magnesium that is a little bit more easy on the gut. The chelation process pushes the digestion and absorption, or the absorption of that nutrient further into the small intestines, where you're less likely to have some of the negative GI impact. And then many people don't get solid REM sleep, and that's where the body kind of just reboots itself. And if that process is not happening on a regular basis, that it also puts the body into a pro-inflammatory state. So taking 3 to 10 milligrams of melatonin at bedtime can be helpful to enhance REM sleep, and that can also help diminish overall inflammation in the body. So those are some of the main things that I wanted to cover. I figured there'd be tons of questions. I don't claim to know everything on this subject. I am a general practitioner as an outpatient dietitian, so I need to know a little bit about many things as I pursue continuing education. So I will do the best I can to try to answer questions that you guys would raise.
Thanks so much. That was just wonderful information. There are lots of comments and questions in the chat box, so I'll go ahead and start going through those. Thank you all for your attention, and thank you for your comments that you shared. I want to go back to artificial sweeteners because you mentioned that they are indeed pro-inflammatory. What about stevia, which is plant-based, more of a natural artificial sweetener? Is that one pro-inflammatory as well?
That's an excellent question. Actually, stevia is a natural non-calorie sweetener. It is not pro-inflammatory. It's definitely the one that I would recommend. We just don't have the enzyme to break it down, so we don't get any carbohydrate or calories out of it. It just basically comes out the other end. A lot of people find that it has a little bit of an aftertaste, So, but I mean, if you like it and tolerate it, it's definitely a better way to go than the others that are out there.
Okay, great. And then somebody asked about sardines.
They're excellent for you.
Okay.
The type of fat there is that omega-3 fat. They can be pretty high in calories, though, especially if they're oil packed. They come in various forms. Water packed would be the best way to go. That's not the most popular way to eat them because they're not as tasty. They're a little bit on the fishy side. They are also an excellent source of calcium because you're actually eating the bones in a sardine. So that can be a great source of calcium for folks as well.
Okay, great. Somebody wanted to know about taking vitamin D with vitamin K.
Are they asking regarding enhancing absorption?
I'm not sure. It just says, what about taking vitamin D with vitamin K?
I think there can be some benefit to combining the two. I don't think it's absolutely necessary though. If you're taking a calcium supplement, vitamin D supplementation along with the calcium can actually enhance calcium absorption.
And a few questions about what type of magnesium is best.
The glycinate is probably one of the better forms, and if you can find it as a chelated glycinate, the chelation process covers the magnesium and does what I said earlier. It pushes the absorption further in the gut. When you go for a colonoscopy, one of the things they used to give was a magnesium liquid that you would drink that would help empty you. And that's, it can be a little rough on the gut. So the chelated glycinate form is probably the best way to go.
And when you say chelated, is that CHELATED? Is that what we look
Correct.
for on the label? Okay, so
Yes.
CHE. Okay, great. Thank you. What does ALA do? Is another question.
I'm not sure what that is. Is that one of the alpha?
Yeah, the alpha lipoic acid, it looks
All
like.
right. Yes. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure what the mechanism of action there is regarding its anti-inflammatory impact. So I'm sorry, I can't speak to that.
Okay. What multivitamin would you suggest for menopausal women?
I would just make sure you get a naturally sourced multivitamin that's designed for women in that age bracket. Multivitamins come in all kinds of formulations based on your age and your place in life. So just naturally sourced and within your age bracket. And you'll find one, especially if you go to like a health food store, they'll have all kinds of naturally sourced multivitamin and mineral supplements, some designed for men, women, premenopausal, postmenopausal, all of that. And that's kind of what you want to aim at. And take it with a meal because the presence of all the digestive enzymes dealing with the food is going to make it more likely that you will fully break down and will absorb what's in that pill or that capsule.
Thank you. Somebody's asking if we'll receive the PowerPoint. This webinar is being recorded, so I will share the recording. And Troy, if you would like to share your slides with me, I'll be happy to share them with the audience.
Okay.
Monk fruit. Is monk fruit kind of in that same category as stevia?
It is, but it does provide a little bit of calories and a little bit of blood glucose raising impact, unlike stevia, which has no impact on blood sugar and no calorie contribution. But monk fruit would be a natural, more healthy way to sweeten something than, processed sugar or using some kind of artificial.
Okay. A question, I had the gastric sleeve and wonder if I should double the supplements for better absorption.
I would definitely probably do a gummy form or a liquid form of a supplement in that case. I'm not sure you would need to double it. You could ask your physician to do some blood work if you think you might be deficient in some areas, just to to double check, but a well-rounded healthy diet plus a gummy or liquid form of a supplement, multivitamin, might be the good way to go there.
Okay. Thank you. This is wonderful. You all have lots of great questions and concerns. Somebody's asking about vitamin brands. You just mentioned look for something that's more on the natural side, or
Yes, we typically try to steer away from recommending specific brands, but anything naturally sourced as much as possible is the route you want to go.
okay. Somebody says, my cardiologist informed me it's better to eat fish for omegas versus supplements, as there are studies that have linked supplements to increased risk of AFib, which is important if you have a history or you're at risk for recurrence. So I guess the question would be, is it better to get these nutrients from the actual food versus the supplement?
It's always best to get them from food because there's often other things in the food which aid and enhance the absorption of the nutrient. So, omega-3s are also, they thin your blood out. So, when you take heavy doses of supplements, sometimes there can be some unintended effects. Like, omega-3s will improve your lipid profile, but if you're on a blood thinner, they'll also impact or enhance the thinning of the blood. So you really got to be careful sometimes with supplements that you don't end up with some kind of unintended thing that might not be a benefit, right?
Yeah, and that's a great point also to always talk to your physician, especially to make sure that any supplement that you're taking on your own that your physician might not know about, make sure that you share what you're taking with your physician. Somebody's saying, so I eat Honeycrisp apples, eating one as we talk. Are you saying that it has been altered since it's sweet?
Absolutely. That's my favorite apple. I absolutely love it, but I also understand when I'm eating it that it's a genetically modified thing, and maybe not ideal.
Somebody's commenting that they're using magnesium spray on their feet at night prior to sleeping. Has really helped with my wacky schedule. So I guess just a comment there that the magnesium spray is working for them.
That's interesting. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I actually heard of that recently. I had forgotten about it until it came up again. Somebody wants to know about honey. Would honey be okay to use as a sweetener? Obviously, it has calories, but would that be considered a safer sweetener?
Yeah, and it would bump up your blood glucose as well. I would get a local honey that's unpasteurized. So as soon as you subject it to heat, you destroy a lot of the benefit of the honey. So I would, get local honey that has been unpasteurized.
Okay, good to know. Let's see, questions. Somebody's put a book in there. Do you have thoughts on the book, How Not to Die? Discover the foods scientifically proven to prevent and reverse disease.
I am not familiar with the book. Sounds like an interesting and compelling title. You're never going to arrive at the not to die part unless they're talking about the process, right? We're all going to head in that direction. We want to have as much quantity and quality of life as possible. And leading a healthy lifestyle and the way you eat can enhance that, of course.
Great. What about propolis from bees? I'm not sure I'm pronouncing this correct, but it's come up a couple of times in the chat.
You are pronouncing it correctly. Yeah, there's all kinds of benefits there as well. There might be some anti-inflammatory impact from propolis, and there are other micronutrients and things that would be found there that would be of some benefit as well.
Great. These are wonderful questions. Thank you all so much for putting these in here. Which apples are not genetically modified? We've got lots of people that are big fans of apples, and I don't want anybody to be concerned that they shouldn't be eating apples. But what would you recommend?
Um, I think many of them have been enhanced in one way or another. All of our crops, they've been enhanced to be drought resistant, disease resistant. And so you would have to do a little bit of probably internet research to see who is, producing apples. Most of what we see in our stores, there's fewer and fewer places that are producing more and more of our food. And, they're looking at volume, and to enhance volume, they're doing all kinds of modification to increase productivity from the plant. And all of that is a very negative thing for us. We're basically killing ourselves with the way we handle our food. Even our beef and pork and our chickens, they're all fed a man-made soy or corn-based chow. There's hormones, steroids, antibiotics. It's a shame. We need to go organic, grass-fed, free range as much as possible. And if you can find a local person who's, producing apples and not using pesticides and chemicals and is not using genetically enhanced seed, that's the way to go. I'm not sure how best to answer that. I think you'd have to do some research locally here to see where you could put your hand on that kind of thing as far as
Great,
the apples go.
great, thank you. Do you have any favorite recommended farms or grocery stores where you can find non-GMO foods?
Earth Fare does a great job. That's probably the one that I frequent most. And then I think in the Grandin area, there's the Co-op. They have a lot of stuff there as well. I think those would be probably the two best options locally.
Okay. Somebody else is asking for somebody with severe joint pain. Would you have specific recommendations? You mentioned the turmeric and ginger. What would be your specific recommendations?
I would try gluten-free for at least a couple to 2 to 4 weeks to see if that doesn't improve things. And you always want to only try one thing at a time to see, if you do multiple things and there's a benefit, you don't know what's caused it. So trying gluten-free alone for 2 to 4 weeks. Then you can try dairy-free 2 to 4 weeks. I would try the turmeric at that therapeutic dose of 400 to 600 milligrams 3 times a day. I would do that by itself. The rest of the things can be added in for more of a cumulative positive impact. Any one of those by itself might not make a noticeable difference, but adding multiple things together after those original three can probably be helpful.
Great, thank you. And I missed another question earlier. Dr. Speaker had asked about nutritionfacts.org from Dr. Michael Greger. Are you familiar with that?
I am not.
Okay. See, again, lots of comments about apples. Yes, this webinar is being recorded. I'll mention that again. Saturday morning market behind the Co-op. Somebody is recommending again the Co-op, Earth Fare. Oh, is sourdough bread a good alternative to eating gluten-free bread?
Well, it depends on the flour that's been used. I think that using an ancient grain to produce the sourdough would be ideal. Sourdough stuff has a really great impact on the GI system, and helping to prevent systemic inflammation in the gut.
Great. Somebody wants to know what's the relationship between whole wheat and gluten?
Gluten is in wheat. It's a protein component in the wheat. So anything that's whole wheat is going to have gluten in it. It's part of what makes bread kind of spongy and what keeps it together. Gluten-free bread used to be very crumbly. somehow they've changed some of the approach there, and they've gotten better. But typically, gluten-free bread, if you toast it, it actually, to me, tastes better and kind of stays together a little better. Yeah, when you take the gluten out, bread loses some of its elasticity and some of its sponginess.
Okay. Does Carillion offer medical nutrition therapy? I know that Carillion employees can meet with a registered dietitian. I'm not sure of the difference in medical nutrition therapy, what this person means here.
Yes, if you can get a referral from your physician to meet with any of our 4 outpatient dietitians, in order for insurance to cover it, you'd need to have some type of diagnosis that is covered. Otherwise, it would be an out-of-pocket expense somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe $45 to $60 or so, maybe up to 90, depending on the time spent with the patient. But if you're coming for weight loss or pre-diabetes or diabetes or anything along those lines, kidney issues, those things are typically covered. Um, Above and beyond that, there's not much that's covered.
Okay. I have a comment. Somebody eats honey wheat bread almost every day. Do I need to do whole wheat instead?
I would do a whole wheat, whole grain, or multi-grain bread and try to, go to an ancient grain bread that's not coming from a modified, genetically modified grain.
And this is just a good reminder too. Troy talked about, the hydrogenated oils and the trans fats that are in your food. You're not going to know what's in your food unless you're turning around every package that you buy in the grocery store and looking at your ingredient list and the nutrition facts. So this is just a really great reminder to be sure that you are looking at those things so you know exactly what is in the processed foods that you're purchasing and consuming. Questions keep coming in. Thoughts on Ezekiel bread?
Excellent bread. I would definitely recommend it.
Great. Okay. What about rice? Good or not good?
With rice, you want to go brown or wild rice. And, again, hopefully aiming at a one that's not genetically modified.
Okay. Dave's Killer Bread.
Also another good bread.
Okay, great. Somebody's added that our Aetna insurance provides consultation with a registered dietitian for free. One of our benefits, they've had 3 conference calls so far. It's been very beneficial. So that's just something I'll put out there for
That's
all of you
awesome.
through Aetna. Somebody's asking, are less ingredients better?
Yes, absolutely. And ingredients are listed in proportion to their quantity in the food item. So the first 3 ingredients are usually the bulk of what's in there. The longer the ingredient list, the more likely you're going to get into, chemicals, man-made items, and pro-inflammatory additives of some form or another. So the less and the simpler, the better.
I always tell people the best snacks are those that don't come with nutrition labels because they're found in the produce aisle. They don't have labels on them. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
again, be cautious and make sure you're being diligent about reading those labels. Looks like one more. Do heart disease patients need to be careful with any foods or nutrients that are usually good?
I mean, it depends on your medication. Often pharmacists are really great at looking at your med list, and you can, go to them and say, "Hey, I'd like to take omega-3 at 1,500 milligrams a day. Is there any contraindication of doing that with any of my medications? Is that going to, negatively impact my Coumadin, for instance, And so that can be a very helpful resource when you're trying to add supplements and wanting to make sure there's no medication supplement interaction that's going to have a detrimental effect in some area.
We are just about at time. I'll continue. It looks like there's a couple more things, Troy, if you're okay with answering just these last couple of questions.
Sure.
One, and I want to point out that just about everybody that started this webinar today has stayed on here. So that just speaks volumes about this information they're receiving. Thank you so much, Troy. How about detoxing?
I think that's excellent. Fasting is a great way to detox. The body will begin to break down and tear apart things in the body that are not supposed to be there. Um, I wouldn't do daily fasting. A lot of times patients come to me and say, "Oh, I'm intermittent fasting. Every day I only eat, within a limited window." That's not intermittent, that's daily. It's better to fast maybe 24 hours once a week, or just have one day a week where you only have one meal. So you have an extended fast. Um, that's probably the best way to do that. And that's going to really help with the idea of a detox. Now, there's, all kinds of detox formulas out there that claim to be a detox formula of some kind or another. Each would have to be evaluated in and of itself. So I can't just speak to generally all detox is good. The best way to detox is actually to do a water fast.
And that would be for like 24 hours at a time, just have
If you
nothing
can,
but water.
yeah, if you can do that, and that can help create a calorie deficit that can lead to some weight loss as well.
Okay. Does fiber break down in the body first, like green leafy vegetables?
Does fiber break down first?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's actually one of the last things to break down. There's two types of fiber, soluble and insoluble. The insoluble fiber is what's left over that comes out the other end. And, we have digestive enzymes that can only break down some of that fiber. And so fiber is one of the last things, and often not even broken down at all. The insoluble fiber is not broken down at all. The first thing that's broken down is carbohydrate. That digests the most quickly. Then protein, then fat. Fiber is one of the last things.
Okay. Can you take too many supplements?
Absolutely. You can end up with multicolored, interesting smelling, expensive urine. So you got to be careful with overdoing supplements. The best thing to do is eat just a really good, healthy diet, organic, grass-fed, free range, as much of that as you can afford and do. Get the recommended number of servings from all the main food groups and eat healthy, exercise, and maintain an appropriate weight. If you're doing that, most people don't need much for supplements.
Okay. Well, we are a little bit over time. I want to thank you, Troy. There's so many accolades. You're getting lots of hearts, claps. I mean, this has just been amazing information. So thank you so much for being here today. I think I'm going to just go ahead and ask you to come back for another webinar in the future, because this has just been so helpful. And like I said, so many people have stayed on till the very end. So I want to thank you. And I want to thank all of you all for joining us. I will be sharing the Personify Health voucher code soon in an email. So look out for that. And again, this has been recorded, and you'll be able to find it on the Wellness Hub within the next few days. So thank you all. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon.
All right.
And
Thank you,
we'll
guys.
see you next time. Thank you so much.